Hey everyone, I'm Sandy, the Badass Business Coach, and welcome back to Monday Motivation and my podcast, No More Excuses. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing the podcast with others. And what do I always say? Thanks for investing in you. I really appreciate it. Appreciate the emails, the participation with downloading worksheets when I have them, and for the comments. And for that, you all keep me going. Yes, you do. So thank you again. And today and this week on my social media, I want to focus on communication. Yes, as a DISC certified business coach, communication is always on the agenda for any session with a client, but it's always something that you got to keep top of mind too. We just tend to kind of ramble sometimes, right? And strong communication and clear communication can make or break a sale, an interview, whether you're being interviewed with a prospective client for them to hire you, whether you're going on a job interview or an interview for maybe a board or a committee, something you want. Any of that can screw up a relationship with staff. Poor communication can ruin poor communication can ruin a relationship with vendors, colleagues, business partners, life partners, all that stuff, right? We've all had miscommunication on text and email, but sometimes in meetings, thinking on your feet or being able to just have a good, strong, clear communication is just key to everything. We all can get flustered or even have a loss for words, but taking the time to think or just pause can help. It's okay to say, let me think about that, or give me a second, or just pause. I know that uncomfortable silence, right? We tend to fill it with ums and the evil. That's a great question. Well, my podcast coach, Jen, she taught me that. Never say in an interview or a meeting, that's a great question. Why? Because it negates every other question. If you don't say, if say somebody asked you a question prior to that and you didn't say, that's a great question, but then you did to the second person, was the previous question not a great question? Is the next person asking a question not a great question? Right? And the thing, think about how many times you say or the next time you're listening to someone speak, how many times they say right? It's just a filler. It's just something to give your brain time. And it's hard, good, effective communication is so helpful in being able to sell both yourself, your idea, your product, your service, anything. But it can sometimes be hard to do, right? Do you have to take the DISC assessment to have better communication? No, but you should try something. You should try to just slow down, not too much though, and think about what you're saying. It's okay, right? Here are a few tips, and I'm going to try to give you some good examples. Watch your tone. Say somebody asks you a question that just irritates you, or you walk into a meeting and you're just annoyed. You're like, watch your eyes, watch your tone and how you're saying something. Well, I don't know why we had to have to do that, or why are we talking about this again? Or I've given you that information, or even, okay, well, in yesterday's meeting, so that angry kind of tone, right? But then there's also the monotone, the infamous monotone, where somebody in the meeting, whether it's owner, leader, manager, staff person, mailroom attendant, I don't know. This is what I need you to think about. This is what I'd like to present. Oh my gosh, would you just like, right? I've watched in person and virtually people giving talks, people answering questions in that very monotone voice. I've heard of angry, annoyed, monotone, all that. And you lose people. They're going to check out, right? And then there's the talking too fast, because, oh my gosh, if I start giving you tips and all this, say, hey, why don't you watch your anger, watch your tone, watch your monotone, watch your tone, right? It's very wound, and it can come across as a little like in your face, not angry, but just like sucking out your energy. I've heard actually a colleague of mine talk, and she just was so excited about providing this information that is really informative, and she's passionate about it. But the feedback was that she was speaking so fast they couldn't take notes. The attendees couldn't take notes. So, and it's easy to do that if you're excited about something, so just try all that. That's pretty much should be the 3 tips today, right? But tone, there's all those things within the tone. Okay. The next is use I versus you. And I hadn't really thought about this, but it really makes sense, especially in a meeting. If you're asking a question or someone asks you a question, the reason I statements sound so much better is that you're saying what you need rather than telling someone else what they should do. For example, I would really appreciate more information about that. I need to do some more research before I can give you an answer versus I need you to give me that, or you should do the research. Make sense? All right. And then this one, I learned this immediately during my initial coaching certification classes. Use open-ended questions. Closed questions can be okay, but that's another whole conversation. Open-ended versus closed-ended questions. Closed-ended questions only require a yes or no. Open-ended keeps the conversation going. So it can really help you, especially when trying to learn about a client or a prospective client, or learning about someone you're trying to interview, or maybe you're being interviewed, right? So instead of just saying, how was your day? This is maybe a personal thing. Or how was your weekend to a staff person or a colleague? Good, fine, whatever. You might be able to build upon that. But it's the whole, did you have a good weekend? That's a question that, yes or no. Did you have a good weekend? Did you have a good day? Yes, no, maybe. Right? Tell me about your day. Tell me about your weekend. Tell me about this, what about product or service? Did you love that person's product or service? Yes or no? Tell me about that person's product or service. Tell me what you liked about it. Tell me what you didn't like about it, right? So again, to recap, there's a lot right there to unpack. Watch your tone, the tone of your voice, whether it's annoyed, angry, monotone, and the speed. Okay. Use I versus you. So you're asking or telling people what you need rather than telling someone what they should do. And then open-ended questions. Get more information. Keep the conversation going, right? That's a lot. That is a lot. There is one more thing that my colleague, Nancy Singer, she's amazing. She's just amazing. You should look her up. She taught me about chunking. And this kind of just blew my mind in a way that was like, it's very simple. It's not always easy to do it. We're actually going to do a workshop soon here on August 18th here in Orange County, but it's not easy to do right off the bat. It's when you're getting asked a question, this is more about thinking on your feet. And that's what all of this is about. When you're in a meeting, when you're leading a meeting, when you're asked a question versus, if I'm up doing a talk for a group conference, doesn't matter, lunch and learn, 20 minutes, 2 hours, I've practiced it. I've written it out. I've done all the things, but this is more about thinking on your feet. The chunking part breaks your answer into 3 parts, which helps people remember and also understand it better. The who, what, and why. We break things into 3s all the time, morning, noon, and night, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, right? And when she was teaching me this, I was like, this is so cool. And one of the things, a lot of us get asked to give recommendations. So when thinking about that, I told her, I said, well, I'm getting ready to give a recommendation for a friend. She's like, break it into these 3 parts. And the first one, I'd never thought about doing, creating credibility, telling the person who I am, telling them I am the amazing badass business coach, and I've been an entrepreneur for almost 30 years, and I've done this and this and this, written 4 books, podcast for 7 years, blah, 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 right? So that establishes who you are and why you were asked to give the recommendation. Next up, establish the relationship. How I know him or her. How do you know Susie? Well, this is how I know Susie. And then the third, close the deal. How can Susie, John, Jimbo, whatever, how can they help your organization, right? Tell them about their experience and their passion and how it would be great for them. All right. I know I've given you a lot, a lot. So think about a time when you've given a recommendation. Did it sound like that? Or did you just sort of ramble and say, oh, how great Susie is, right? You know, think about it, written or verbally, either way, break into those three parts: credibility, create credibility, establish a relationship, close the deal. You can use that in a lot of things. So I'd love to hear from you. Share any of your tips. Email me, sandy@sandyballard.com. Comment below. What's helped you establish clear, concise communication? And if you want to understand, I talked earlier about being disc certified. If you want to understand your communication style, go to my website, badassbusiness.coach, take the assessment button, click on take the assessment button. It's free. You can use it for you, your business partners, your staff, boyfriend, husband, girlfriend, whatever. It's free. Use it. There's a free assessment out there for you. Don't worry about it. And then if you want to know more, yes, I do trainings all the time about discs. So if you have staff, whether it's 2 or 22, schedule that session with me and we can talk more about how the communication, that disc assessment can help you learn how to communicate more effectively, right? And ladies, if you're in Orange County on August 18th, sign up for that Thinking on Your Feet, How to Shine Under Pressure. Check out my social media, DM me for the link. But a lot of tips today. Sorry about that, but I'm not sorry, because clear, concise communication, being able to think on your feet, being able to not say as many times or as few times as possible, creating that just that pause or ask for more time can help you, right? So I look forward to hearing from you on any tips you have, any questions you have, any comments you have, and follow my social media for the rest of the week as I unpack a lot of this each day. All right. Woo. Have a great day. I look forward to hearing from you. Cheers.